Hey everyone, Kyle Witte here. Just want to give you a few ideas for what you could have in an OT toolbox. So first off, you want to have building blocks. These are great ones because all the different colors are very visually appealing, but you can also stack them in or on top of one another. That works on motor planning, sequencing. Definitely this is a good tool for fine motor control. Next you have a ball, but I chose to go with a glow-in-the-dark ball. This is something that can really enhance the sensory behaviors of your client that you're working with. You can work on gross motor and fine motor by throwing it back and forth, rolling it back and forth, squeezing it, and also the glow-in-the-dark component is great for a calming or alerting behavior depending on your client. Next we have Play-Doh. Play-Doh can be used for fine motor strengthening. You can squeeze the Play-Doh in your hand. It can be used in order you can put gems or beans inside of it, and then the kid can go and use their pincer grasp in order to get it out of the Play-Doh, or they can even use tweezers. And they can also engage in a lot of play exploration and participation with this. Next we have bubbles. Bubbles are a pretty basic tool that can be used for oral motor control. They can be used for fine motor. You can blow the bubbles and have the student then just kind of poke at them using their finger isolation. It can also be used, I've seen it used as a reward system for a kid who had problems with feeding. They would take a couple of bites of food and then the mom would blow bubbles because she loved it so much. That really worked well for that client. Next up we have Etch-a-Sketch Freestyle. This works well for learning how to properly grasp a utensil with the pen up in the corner over there. It also has different stamps in order to work on strengthening. They really have to push down on the Etch-a-Sketch in order to get the stamp onto there. And then also it clearly is very sensory stimulating for a kid because of all the different colors. Next, we'll talk about an American Journal of Occupational Therapy article which discussed the use of fidget toys as well as weighted devices, and I'll talk about both of these. And it talked about how it can really enhance a kid's sensory stimulation to be able to focus better, to overcome other arousals within a classroom setting or within any setting really. This has a bunch that you could squeeze for calming. It has things that you can kind of fidget with during class to help you focus. It also has a lava lamp, which can potentially help with a calming strategy at night to help with sleep. And then you have a weighted blanket. This can create great arousal with the sensory arousal with your client. You can get it with any characters on it to make them excited about it. It's a great calming strategy. And it also can be used on the floor if you don't have a soft surface to sit on. Next we have construction paper as well as a portable art set. Construction paper and an art set can be used, first of all, as the OT. You can make anything if you have a construction paper and a utensil. You can make any type of worksheet for a kid to work with stamps. You can work with how to properly hold a utensil, the proper grasp to have. You can work on how to use scissors, safety precautions with scissors and with a stapler. And it's just a very fun tool to have with kids that can get them more engaged. Next we'll go into another article by the American Journal of Occupational Therapy, which talks about how oral motor stimulation can be used as well as safe feeding strategies for a kid to learn how to properly feed and not to become averse. A Nook brush is one item that can be really used to expose kids to different flavors. You can dip it into a puree and the kid can then lick it off. It helps them learn how to chew and to swallow, which was also discussed in this article. And then also you have something here for gum stimulation that you can attach to the Nook brush. Next we have a bottle feeding set. This is essential if you're working with kids with feeding issues. You have different size bottles to work with, but you also have the different size nipples for the bottle. One would be a preemie, then a level 1 and a level 2, and that really helps to conduct the level of flow, how fast the milk or formula is going to flow out, which helps to avoid any feeding aversions. Next we have a G-tube belt. This is really interesting that I've learned in field work. You can have one of these in your car. If you have a lot, that's fantastic, but they are somewhat expensive. But the G-tube can easily be pulled out by a kid that wears a G-tube. So this little flap can flip up, and these will be over the G-tube site so that a kid can't pull it out, which is really great. These can be sewn if a client knows someone or is really good at sewing. These can be used to give to a client, say, hey, this is what it looks like, keep it for a week, go ahead and make your own version of it. It's that can be a cost-effective way of doing this. Last but not least, we have an iPhone. This is just important for a stopwatch, any apps to get a kid's attention, keeping track of health care standards for different kids and different conditions. It can be used to use your calculator in order to get vitals for a kid. It can be used for all kinds of stuff and is essential to being an OT to have just your basic smartphone. Thank you very much. This is my OT Toolkit.